Hello. So I'm here with my friend Nick. So tell us a little bit about you, Nick.
I live in Paris right now. I've been here for the past 5 years, and I teach and I play music, and that's all there is.
Wow.
If you want to know anything else, ask me questions.
Riveting. So where can everybody get your music? And what kind of music do you do?
I do a lot of different stuff. I guess it's sometimes it's folky, sometimes it's classic rock, um, sometimes it's jazzy, manouche kind of stuff, gypsy jazz. And you can find it under Bralitz, Bralitz. So
Wonderful.
thank you for letting me plug my music.
Yes. A shame we can't hear anything because I know you're sick.
Yeah, that's right.
So I wanted to do like a living in France versus living in Florida thing. We've done something like this before, but that was just practice.
Okay.
Alrighty. So let's see. First thing, what's a good place to start? You want to start with dating or like politics?
I don't know that much about dating, and I know even less about politics. So
Perfect. So either sounds good.
either one will do.
Okay. So have you noticed any similarities or differences with the women in the States versus in Europe because you lived in Italy and France now? Maybe other places in Europe or no?
Just Italy and France. I spent a
Okay.
lot of time in Germany. I used to go to Germany quite a lot, but never lived there. Similarities, I guess. Um, it's a generational thing. There's probably more in common between girls here and girls in the States than they have with their parents, with women their parents' age, with their mothers.
Do you
So
find like the women in Europe when they're trying to date, are they more like feminists? Do they want to have kids? Are they anti-kids?
a lot of them want to have kids. A lot of them just want, what people have always, or what a lot of people traditionally used to want, what most people wanted traditionally, most women to have kids, to get married and own a house or an apartment somewhere. And that seems to be what a lot of them want here. So nothing too crazy.
Do you find that women over there want to delay it until they're really old, like they finish school and they've reached a certain amount of money, or are they okay with getting married younger?
I find both tendencies. For the most part, they've delayed it. They tend to delay it a lot more than their parents did. So it's not rare at all, especially in the city, in Paris. It's not rare to find people who are in their early 30s, mid 30s who still haven't gotten married.
Mm. So
They're
let's see.
living with their partner. I mean, half the time they're living with their partner, but they're not married yet and they don't have kids.
So they're okay with just like shacking up more so than previous generations.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
It's almost expected, I think. Um, it would be strange, I think, for a couple to get married, I think, here without having lived together.
Do you know anything about the laws over there?
I
Like,
think they have
if
some
you,
some form of common law marriage, if that's what you're asking about. I
yeah.
think I think they do. I'm not sure, but I think after about 5 years, a certain amount of time, it's automatic. It's pretty much you get the same sort of privileges. I don't know if you get the same responsibilities. I'm not sure. I've never really looked into that because I've never stayed with a girl that long. I
Wow.
never expected to. True.
Okay. So, let's see.
But this is an interesting time for you to ask me about these things because Because it's funny. I'm seeing an American girl now here. She's just here for a couple months, but yeah. And it had been ages since I last dated an American girl. I mean, it had been 12 years or something, 13
And
years.
how old is she?
She's only 15 years younger than me.
Only. Wow.
Yeah, this time. Yeah.
So,
By the way, speaking of age, do you know whose birthday it is soon?
yours?
Maybe.
Oh yeah.
Well, you don't need to.
Yeah.
We don't need the world to know when that is, but just just a little aside. But yeah, she's 26.
Creepy. Nice.
Why is that creepy? Why
You
is
know
that
it's a
creepy?
little creepy. But I mean
Not
it is what
really.
it I mean if you can get away with it, go ahead.
Someone told me the formula is divide by 2 and add 7. So a man who's 40 should be with a girl, or can be with a girl who's 27 without it seeming creepy by this sort of formula. What do you
Mhm.
think?
I mean, I think it depends on the guy, not the girl. Because if you're like, for example, if you're like a really hideous old man and you just have money and you're with a really young girl, you know she doesn't give two shits about you. She's just waiting for you to die. It would be insanity to think anything less. But if you are pretty fit, you're good looking still, you keep it together, then yeah, she probably actually likes you. But that's the thing that guys don't understand because some of them think if you just have money, you'll get a girl that actually likes you so much just because of money. But the money doesn't buy real connection. All it does is get somebody who maybe wants to use your resources or something. But yeah,
Can't
that's
buy,
why, huh?
can't buy me love.
Well, yeah, you can't. But anyways, so yeah, that's the only thing I have to say about that. But if you're like fit and you're fun to hang out with and you act young enough that you can keep up with a younger person, they're gonna still like you. I know people who have been married until like the guy died, of course, because they always die first. And the girl was like 20 years younger and she really, really loved him till the very end. But he was fit. He was fun to hang out with. He wasn't like an embarrassing old rickety man, or like some like I don't know, like crotchety old man. It wasn't like that. It wasn't just like first he didn't have money. He had decent job, but not like tons of money. So he's not going to attract the gold digger type of thing. But yeah, like it can work, of course.
Yeah, I don't have to worry about attracting gold diggers, that's for sure.
Yeah. Congrats. So let's see. Tell me a little bit about, do you get on first dates with girls over there? Do they like interrogate you? Are they asking
I
about your
never really go.
parents?
It doesn't really happen for me because I don't go on dates that way. I don't. If I am on a date, I'm not aware of it because I don't use any of those dating apps. I'd never go on what is formally a date, knowing that it's a date. I may meet someone, if I'm playing somewhere at a bar or whatever, and we'll start talking, and maybe it's unbeknownst to us, it's a date. But we're not aware of it, so it's kind of like an accidental date. But I never actually go on dates knowing that they're dates anymore.
Give me an example, like how you met, like the recent girl.
Uh, this friend of mine put together a sort of artist collective, and we all had a meeting at this pub that I tend to go to a lot that I play at, and we met there because she's one of the artists, one of the people who's in this new cult, you know, and so we hit it off right away. We just started talking, and we hit it off.
So how do you go up to a girl? Like teach someone who maybe is scared to do that, like because we're old, so we remember when you didn't have to rely on the app to meet people where you had to actually go up to people and risk rejection, risk them being rude or, like whatever. Like, because the kids now, they don't know what that's like because they just have the app and they don't know how to cold approach someone.
I know it sounds like really basic dad advice, but I think the less you try to be someone you're not, the better off you might be, you know, because most people can sense if something is contrived, if you're you're pretending to be something you're not. And it's really sometimes really less is more. Just keep it simple and just be a person, just like talk, like ask questions and have a normal conversation. Don't try anything too fancy because it will probably backfire.
So, let's see. Do
And
you
try to forget.
have
A good, I guess, one good tip might be if you can't just automatically, naturally get that out of your head, get your objective, get your ulterior motive out of your head, then try to like talk yourself into forgetting it. Like pretend that you're not just trying to get into their pants. Pretend that you're just talking to them the way you would to just any stranger, any new person you meet, and
so
forget
don't
that.
have the objective in mind.
Exactly. Forget it. Forget that that's what you want. Don't want that. Think of it as something that might be an extra, might be a nice sort of added bonus. Like, oh, I met someone and we went home together. That was great. But don't think of it like a job interview, and it's clear that that's all you're after, because I think it makes you seem quite desperate, and you're already, as a man, I think you're already, you know, the odds are already against you, as
You're
we've
already
spoke.
desperate.
Well, it's just that's the way it is. Everybody knows the odds are what they are for men. Women are choosier. Women can be choosier just because of the way the laws of attraction work. The laws of attraction between men and women.
Mm. And it's more costly for women if they choose wrong.
It's more costly. I guess you're right. I guess the stakes are higher for women as well.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's probably why it is the way it is. Naturally, if your stakes are higher, you're going to be a bit more careful. You're going to be a bit more choosy. And the guys are like, well, let's go, whatever. Nothing to lose, or not very much to lose.
So does France have one of those laws where if you get a girl pregnant, you don't automatically have to pay child support?
That's a good question. I haven't looked into that because I haven't really planned to do that.
That's
They
not
probably.
something you generally plan on happening.
I'm pretty sure it's not that different from the States. I'm pretty sure if you got someone pregnant, maybe not tomorrow, maybe 10 years down the line, if you choose to just skedaddle, if you choose to not recognize the child, it might take some time. But if she really wants to, I think she can get a way to hold you accountable and make you pay child support and all that. I may be wrong,
Mm,
but I would assume that it's not that different from the States.
yeah. Hmm. So in Italy, wasn't there a different law?
In Italy, I wouldn't know really. I mean, some people told me that I probably would down the line. Not that I was thinking of doing it, but from what I heard, if the woman really wanted to, she could hunt you down and get you to. I don't remember if they could force you to take a DNA test. Maybe they couldn't, but there were ways to try to catch the father, try to get him and hold him accountable.
Mm.
But I wouldn't know because no one ever had to resort to that with me.
Nice. So, let's see. So you've always been kind of like a whore, right?
It's all relative. Seriously, it is. Especially talking to younger people these days. I feel like
Oh yeah,
so
different.
prude, so prude. Like I've led such a sheltered, such a clean, sheltered, traditional, like old school life. You know, old fashioned. Some of the things they do, they're just so much more pornographic. Like
Yeah,
as
they
as
they grew up
as
with
as
such.
just as a default. You know what I mean? It's not like our generation wasn't a bit kinky as well, but I feel like the default, just like what the normal level for them is just slightly kinkier, just slightly more pornographic. I think they're perhaps a bit desensitized, you know, maybe because they've had so much access to porn and because in the porn industry they just continue to push the envelope further and continue to make stuff that's more and more extreme to just for all the different tastes out there. It's all out there, and I really feel that I'm really not a whore. Also, there's so much more promiscuous than us
Yeah.
in general. I
Oh yeah.
think, just
Yes.
from my personal experience. Well, that's not true entirely. I find both extremes. It's really strange because I'll find people. It's not rare either to find people in their generation. Like I'm talking about Generation Z or millennials who are like on the sort of cusp, right? I find that it's not rare to find couples that have been together since high school and they've stayed together for like 7, 8 years and they live together and they're probably going to get married and they're the only people they've ever been with. Surprisingly, I meet a lot enough people like that too. So
Mm.
I find more of the extremes, and they are more extreme and they're extremes. What about you? What do you think?
I mean, I can only go based on my friends in Miami, the younger ones, and I would just say it's really bad. They don't value it as much. They're like if they're bored, they'll find someone and go sleep with them. Like if they don't even like them, they're just bored. They just want to feel better about themselves. They want the attention. Um, it's very easy for them. They don't have any like moral qualms about it. It's really odd. And they can rack up insane numbers that we used to think only like rock stars or porn stars were capable of.
I had a friend when the last time I lived in Italy who told me about a friend of hers she'd go out with from time to time who would take a guy home almost every single time she'd go out, a different guy. And she went out on average, I think perhaps 4 times, 3 or 4 times a week. So if you do the math, right, let's say she did, to be conservative, right, to have a conservative estimate. Let's say she did 3 guys every week. Let's say just count 50. She took a break at Christmas and
Thanksgiving.
uh, yeah, maybe they don't celebrate that, but still, she took a break twice a year, right? She didn't want to fuck with her parents in the room, right? With grandma cooking the Christmas ham. So anyway, that's how, do the math. 150 just in one year,
Mm,
right?
yeah. Yeah.
1 year, 300 if she keeps it up, you know?
Oh, well. Yeah, it's insane. There's girls coming out of high school with 300.
And who knows? It's all so relative. The only reason we're reacting like this is because for our generation, it was kind of rare to have those numbers. Like, I think when I was a teenager, I remember people slut shaming girls for having slept with more than 10. That's probably totally squeaky clean by today's standards. It's all relative.
Yeah.
And who's to say like what's right and what's wrong, what's morally superior? Who's to say? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, you do know that the more partners that I think I talked to you about this once, the more partners that a woman has, the more chances she's on antidepressant, she's depressed, she's, more lonely. they're less likely they're able to get married. They can't pair bond as easily with someone new. They're always like BBD, bigger, better deal, like always looking for the next thing. So they're less likely to want to compromise, and they think out there's some perfect situation because it was so easy, especially when you're a young girl. They throw it at you. And then when you get older and older, it's less and less, and the options are less and less and less
But aren't women
until
aware of that? Aren't they aware of that?
I feel like the younger generation, they think that like all guys are super kinky and they'll be into an older woman just the same or whatever, and like there's no like end date for all the attention. But what they don't understand, because I guess nobody's telling them, like on movies and television, everything is like, yeah, go on and do it. There's no consequences. You're not a whore. It's they're insecure if they think you're a whore or whatever. And it just makes girls think, okay, this is gonna be forever. I'm watching, Sex in the City. They're doing it and they're like 100 years old looking, and they're still doing that. And there's all these like good looking older men that are supposedly like interested in these old women in these shows, and it sets them up to fail because when they reach that age, they're going to realize that all the guys are still dating the same age range.
That's true, yeah.
That doesn't change. Just now they're going to have to get the guys that can't even date in the age range they want because they're crap. No personalities, no money, no conversation skills, like nothing. That's what they end up with. And then they're like, I'm just going to be alone, because a woman, biologically, she would rather die alone than be with someone who she doesn't think is fit enough to reproduce, even if she's not reproducing. It's just like a biological thing.
I don't know if that's true. I think she wants to be financially secure too. If she wants, if she needs to be with someone to make ends meet.
Well, I mean, if they need that, yes, they will concede. But if they make enough to survive, why would they?
I don't know.
And that's where a lot of the depression is, because they're like, they reach the point where now none of the guys want them that they want. But they have enough money that they're not desperate enough to lower their standards, or they just flat out refuse, and they're in that limbo.
Yeah. It's tough. But it's not that different for guys. I mean, it's a little different, but after a certain age, it's not that much different for a guy. It's pretty hard for a guy, I think, after a normal guy. I don't know. I would imagine after a certain age. It's just maybe that age is a bit lower for women, a bit younger. Maybe it starts getting a bit harder for women after their early 30s or 40s. Sorry, after their early 40s. They're starting from their early 40s. It gets a bit tougher for them to just pick up whomever they want.
I
Whereas for
mean,
guys, that might start a bit later, maybe more like the late 40s or early 50s. They really find that they can't pick up half as many girls as they used to. There's maybe a 20-year difference, but I don't know if there's
yeah.
much more than that, because we all reach that point where we're no longer attractive to the people that we find most attractive,
Yeah.
or we don't attract them. So it's not like guys have the upper hand entirely there. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I think guys have guys have a shitty time when they're young,
Yeah. But when they're
because
old, if they're single, I mean, if a guy stays single, yeah, he's got a really good period between, from his 20s all the way to his perhaps late 40s, maybe, I don't know. And then after that, it's over, probably. If he's not, because when you get into your 50s, I think you're no longer it becomes creepy, I think, for girls, maybe. If you're still going after the same girls, if you're still going after young girls. But I don't know. I'm not sure. What do you think?
I mean, maybe you can get away with it if you're incredibly wealthy and charismatic and fun and have a great network and can offer them a lifestyle that they could not have with a younger, better looking guy.
Right, but here we're talking about an average, just the
Average Joe's fucked.
average guy. Yeah.
Average
What
guy is fucked.
what age would you say is the cutoff for the average Joe?
Um, 50
There you
for a
go.
dude.
All
Yeah.
right. What about for a girl?
For a girl, it's highly dependent on her lifestyle. I
How
mean,
so?
I think you've seen some 28-year-olds that look like they're 100 years old already. We've seen that.
Yeah.
We've seen it. We've seen girls that were like absolutely stunning turn into, a mess.
Yeah.
And then we've seen girls that were like kind of get like a second wind when they're older. So I mean, it depends on how you take care of yourself. Same with a guy for that matter. A guy can go up and down depending on how he takes care of himself. But with a girl, I feel like stress is more unkind. Stress, bad habits, drinking alcohol, like that just sucks the youth right out of them and dehydrates their skin, and it's a lot. But best case scenario, maybe like 40, maybe.
I've never dated a girl older than 40, and I don't know. I don't know that I want to. I really don't see myself doing that anytime soon. I don't want to.
I mean, what would be the point?
What is
I'm
the
just
point?
taking it. Look, I'm just taking it from like if I were a guy, right? Let's say I'm you and I'm old and I'm like, you know what? I want to settle down now. Like I just want to pick one. You know what I mean? Let's just say like someday like you're 50 and you have that feeling. It just comes to you like out of nowhere. I wouldn't pick the older girl. I would pick probably the youngest girl that's happy, that's,
Mhm.
like just in a good mood most of the time.
Yeah.
I would pick that one. Like maybe she's not the most stunning girl, but like she's just in the best mood.
You don't want the most stunning girl, really, because that'd be the one to cheat on you with younger guys
For
2 years
sure.
down.
Yes. Yes. There's this woman that's I watch on YouTube. She's like a therapist and stuff for like really wealthy guys in Dubai. And she's like, the guys work so hard to get millions of dollars so they can finally get the dream girl. But by then they're usually older, not as attractive. Maybe they didn't keep up their looks because they're working so hard. So they're like maybe a little overweight or balding or completely slobby, They don't look great. And then they'll get the beautiful girl, but immediately she's cheating on them with the help. Immediately. Like it's just such a high percentage that it's not even worth it if they cared about fidelity. But some of these guys are just like, I'm okay with this because I get this quality girl on my arm. And I work so hard. I just want someone who's really beautiful. But I mean, that's a very immature way to think of life. But I understand it. Like you worked so hard expecting to get it and just took you way too long and at the expense of what you look like to achieve.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yes, definitely the more the age range and the look, the physical range different, the more likely the cheating. If you're a 10 and she's a 10, even if you're old and she's young, it'll probably be fine. But it's when you have the age plus the looks are just completely different spectrum.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you think of what's his name? Jeff Bezos marrying that much older woman?
I didn't know anything about it.
Wow. She's like, I don't know, 55, I don't know, 53, something like that. But she's like Latin. She's got the, you know what I mean? And he had like the white girl before. So this is like, wow for him. Probably it's the first interaction he had with one.
Mm, I
It's
see.
like, imagine growing up in Alabama and then you just go on vacation to Miami. That's what I imagine. Because, like, I don't see many girls that look like that hanging out in his presence that he's seen in person. So maybe, like, the first one he sees is this girl. And she happens to be older, but he's like, oh my gosh, I've never seen this before. And you know how, like, Latin women like to keep it tight.
I don't. I don't know. I don't
You know,
think I've dated
like
like many Latin women. I don't think I have. You know,
the BBL girls in Miami. The
BBL.
boobs, the little waist, the big butt. Those girls.
I've
Wow.
never been with a BBL. I've never dated a girl.
Yeah, you never went for that type. You go for like regular people.
I've just always ended up with regular girls, just normal girls. You know, quite a range, but not BBLs.
Yeah, that was relatively new after you left.
I think at this point I've dated a lot more Italian and French girls than anyone from back home, like by far.
Yeah. If you had to choose, what do you think is better, French or Italian?
For what? For a relationship? Like to live together?
Yeah, like to get married, to have a family.
An Italian woman by far. To settle down, like to live with, in my experience, they just really they've always taken care of me. They just really treat me good. They're just good to me.
Mm.
They were always good to me. And here too, when I live, I was with an Italian girl here in France too, a couple years ago, and I think they make better girlfriends in my personal experience. I felt they were more loyal, more loving, more giving. You know, and it's not just because they cook more for you. They're more traditional in that sense. It's not just because of that. You just feel more appreciated, more loved. I feel maybe it's just the girls that I've been with. Maybe I haven't been with the right French girls, but with French girls that I was with, it was just a lot easier to end up in arguments for stupid things for no reason, end up bickering all the time. So, and I didn't feel as loved, as appreciated, as as nurtured.
So definitely, okay, if you had to choose between the women that you dated when you were younger in the US versus French or Italian women, how would you rank?
Well, I dated an American girl. Um, she was a great girlfriend too. She and I was with her for a couple of years, and she was a great girlfriend. She might, I think that would put, but I don't want to I don't want to generalize too much. I don't want to say that she represents all American girls and what it's like to be in a relationship with an American girl
Yeah.
because she probably doesn't. Not to mention she's 7 years older than me. That's a different generation.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big difference because when I was younger, I would still date girls who were older than me,
Hmm.
whereas now there's like this brick wall that has been there since I turned 35. I think
Yeah.
I haven't really dated girls older than me now, or I don't anymore. No interest. But so there's that difference too. You have to remember that I was a lot younger. I was 13 years younger when I left. So I don't know if we're comparing apples to apples.
Yeah. And also, it was a different generation. Now I feel like you would have a horrible time here because they could care less what you look like or how cool you are if you don't have like everything.
What is everything?
Money, looks, and like a great social life that they can, jump into. Because girls generally leave their family to go for like whatever the guy has going on, like either his family or his friends or his social circles, his world. So I think women here have like caught on to that a lot more than elsewhere, and they are really starting to like choose based off of that. Like yeah, he's cute or he's nice, but like he just sits at home all day and he has no friends and it's boring or whatever.
Maybe the difference is that we meet a lot more people. We just come in contact with so many people, whereas our ancestors just lived in the same town. They didn't move around a whole lot. They didn't travel a whole lot, and they had like 5 dudes to choose from. So if you have 5 dudes to choose from, you pick one, the only one that the best one of those 5, and that's it. You can't afford to be too choosy. But when you have apps like Tinder and Bumble or whatever, you've got like thousands at least, or more than hundreds of thousands, depending where you are. Like if you're in Manhattan, you probably have hundreds of thousands to choose from. Can you imagine?
I
I'm
mean,
curious what that must be like. If you're in a city like New York, right?
mhm.
A city that's got a population of what? Is it 9 million?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Around there, right? Now 9 million, how many of those people would you assume are on those apps? Let's just say that really not that many, right? Let's just assume the most,
20%.
let's say 20%, okay? That's still 1,800,000. Okay. Now let's divide that by 2. 900,000, right? Because you're only going, probably depending on your tastes, but let's say an average person might only be going for one gender, right?
Mhm.
Heterosexual, most people, I guess, maybe still, I don't know.
For now.
Making too many assumptions for 2023, but let's just assume that most people are still, just good, not good, but just old fashioned. Got to watch what you say these days.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
know.
just the expression, good old fashioned, heterosexuals who just go with, they're just looking for someone the opposite gender. That's 900,000 people to choose from. 900,000.
Mhm.
But not really, because of those 900,000, not all of them are going to be into you. For a girl, a pretty significant amount of the ones that she likes, she'll match with, right? Compared to the
Mhm.
guy. The guy's probably going to have a lot fewer matches, just statistically. Usually, that's the way it works out. So let's say that she matches with 10%. Okay. Now, this may be totally wrong. This theory may be totally flawed, and
Mhm.
if, I would love to have someone explain to me how it's flawed, but let's assume that it isn't. That works out to what, 90,000 guys to choose from? That's not bad, right? So
It's
yeah,
it's
compared to
not.
grandma or her great grandma, who maybe had like 5 guys, 2 of them were her brothers, and not that that would necessarily be a turnoff in those days in some places, but she didn't have a whole lot to choose from. And then the 2 other guys she might have chosen got killed. They went to war and they got murdered, or they got killed
Yeah.
or something. Or they died of tuberculosis or fucking polio. So yeah, I think that's the difference. It's just having too much to choose from, having this abundance to choose from, and be you can you can't choose because you can afford to not choose. Also, because no one is shaming you for being a spinster anymore. That's another thing. These cultural changes are part of it as well. No one's saying, "Oh, TikTok, you're you're no longer spring chicken. You're getting close to 25." And now I think people don't care as much. What do you think? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is a lot of pressure for a girl to get married by a certain age. If there is, though, it's not as much as before anyway.
It's not culturally, it's gone. But in certain maybe like ethnic subcultures, there's still going to be like the parents are like, hey, I want grandkids, I'm going to die. So you'll have that with those. But overall, culturally, there's been a real of like hating the family, moving on from the family, encouragement of you don't need them. It doesn't matter what they say, they're old fashioned, those ways must die with them. And women, a lot of them are equating having a family and getting married to servitude. Because they're like looking at maybe generations or whatever before and all the bad stories. I mean, if you're a woman, maybe you grew up watching Lifetime movies and that gets in your head. And you're like, guys just want to like marry you so they can take insurance out against you and then kill you for their secretary. So it's like, why bother? Or as soon as there's like the statistics, like if you get cancer or whatever, men are more likely to like immediately start cheating on you to like replace you. So like they don't have that gap between you getting like really sick and being alone and having to mourn you. But while men do that, yes, it's very sad and everything. I can understand that because like it's kind of like avoiding that feeling. You're trying to like not feel that loss, and this is a quick way to like I don't know, stop that from happening, to not feel it as much. If you have the replacement, you can feel less devastated. What do you think?
I don't know how I feel about that. That's got to be tough. I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a terrible situation for everybody involved, but I can understand like the grief being too much, that you want to quickly stop that from happening with like a replacement so that you have someone else to lean on and you don't have that period of just being completely devastated and destroyed.
That's part of the deal, though. Technically, when you get married, and I think that's why marriage has always seemed so scary to me, because the longer you're in it, the more vulnerable you are, potentially, and the more painful it can be to suddenly have that stripped away from you. Like it's like losing a limb after you lived with someone for 20 years, assuming it wasn't absolute torture. Because a really bad marriage is perhaps a bit different.
Mm-hmm.
But assuming it's just a normal marriage, after 20 years or more, to suddenly lose that person, that must be devastating. But you can kind of sort of imagine that when you're going into it, that's part of the deal. You're like, till death do us part. Well, till their death, maybe, which means you're stuck living alone and suffering. You know, um, you know what you're getting yourself into, but yeah, maybe you don't. That's the thing. But that's what you sign up for anyway.
Yeah, but I do feel like people nowadays, they don't take it seriously, marriage. They're just like, oh, that's just it's just for a fun party and like some pictures and so I can show off to my friends and family.
Instagram account.
Yeah, my Instagram. So like I just like I have a check mark of like something I did. I don't think they actually believe in the whole like for better or for worse, sickness and health stuff. I don't think that is for men or women something that people actually accept.
Yeah.
Like they don't think of that. They're just like, we'll get married, and if it doesn't work out, we'll get divorced. Or if when things stop working out, we'll just get divorced. No big deal. So then it's kind of like there's no point to it.
I've never seen a point, but I think maybe now I see even less of a point. I don't know why, but people keep getting married because it's such an old institution. You can't. People just don't question it. It's like religion. It's one of those things that are still surprisingly they're still around, even though you suspect that people don't really believe in it. Most people don't really believe in it anymore. Like we still have churches, we still have religious people technically, but most people don't really care about religion anymore. But we haven't done away with it.
I think it's for the first time since maybe we were born, our generation, I think it's having a resurgence like you would not understand. Religion is becoming uh remember how like let's say punk or ska, like the subculture, the anti-culture, whatever you want to call it.
Having a comeback.
Yeah, it's just
Making a
like
comeback.
now
Making a
it's like edgy and cool and like interesting to be religious, and people are just becoming like more strict religion, like they're bringing it back, like it's gone so far away from religion, and they've seen like people are just depressed, they kind of need something, and it maybe like you don't need something, but the general consensus, like they just feel like they need something to believe in, that it's come around because it was just it
we
the
probably do.
rules. Huh?
So we probably do all need something. I think maybe for me it's music. I don't want to imagine what my life would be like without music. But yeah, we all need something. We probably do, and I mean, I won't criticize people for whom that is religion. You know, I won't criticize it. It's just it's so foreign to me. It seems so out there for me that it's because it's so. I find it to be so irrational, so illogical. I just don't. It does not appeal to me at all, and it's beyond my comprehension. But I won't criticize people who need it and who use it, and for whom that is the thing that gets them through. You know, that gets them through the day. What were you saying?
Well, because when you think about it, we have gone so far from religion that we've kind of end up in this mess where less people are happy, less people are married, less people can find a stable relationship. They don't want to go through the hard times. They don't, believe in anything. The disillusion of the family. People are just like the sexes have kind of like they have in the States like a huge hate for each other, where women think of men as only a means to an end to get resources from, and men think of women as just like objects to get sex from, and like they should, you know want to be married to them and be their wife and like submit to them type of thing. So it's like you have these two completely opposite things, but if we had religion, women wouldn't get rewarded or wouldn't get paid for being, you know basically like prostitutes on the internet or whatever they're doing now. Like that would not be allowed, and that would mean that more of them would have to realize like I need to, hook up with somebody to secure my future, and then they would be more likely to get married and then have a family. And the more people in stable families, the less single people ruining stable families, because that's what happens. People go bigger, better deal, and they look outside, all the people who are available,
But
and it is what.
I don't know if it could work like that. I don't know if it's like a trend that can go away and then come back. I feel like religion is one of those things, like once it's gone, once it's lost, and people no longer believe in it as a society, I don't think you can very easily bring it back. I mean, you may have people try. Like it's kind of like flat earthers, right? Yeah,
Oh my
there are.
gosh.
Yeah, well, they exist, right? But they're fortunately, I think, hopefully, I don't know, but I think they're a minority, right? Because we got past that. We found out. Someone found out that the world is round, and so
Well, okay, look, I don't want to talk about flat
back.
earth.
It's not like you can choose now. You can choose to say, okay, well, you know what? Let's ignore all the science, all the stuff that we know now, and that we've spent centuries and centuries to figure out. Let's ignore all that, forget all that. That never happened. Let's go back to not believing that the Earth is round. Let's go back to believing that the Earth is flat. I don't think you could do that. And in religion, I think it's the same thing. It's like
Okay,
no,
okay,
we
with
no
the
longer
flat. Okay.
we're no longer superstitious. We don't believe in magic. And, no one's going to believe you if you say that you met a guy whose mother is a virgin and who turned water into wine in front of you. they're gonna be like, oh, okay, that's cool. No one believes that stuff anymore. Oh, it's written in this book. Look, it's true, and you're gonna burn in hell if you're bad. We don't think that way anymore. We're not that. You could argue we're not that ignorant anymore. Most
Okay,
people.
well, that's not true. At all. I don't know what you're talking about. We're not ignorant.
I'm out of line. You're right. I'm way out of line.
Yeah, have you seen, like, what is called Idiocracy, whatever that movie? Like,
Of
that's
course.
what we're
Yeah,
living in.
we talked about it. Yeah.
That's the complete opposite of what you're saying.
Sorry.
We're
Well,
living in the complete opposite.
I don't think that's necessarily true.
Yes, it is. There are people who don't know fundamental truths that were common knowledge when we were a kid because nobody sat down and told these people. And they're living life without any concept of these things. For example, like we were talking about with dating, women have no idea that when they get older, they won't be able to find a man to marry them and, settle down. They literally cannot, it doesn't function in their heads anymore. You'll be talking to them and they're like, but my income on OnlyFans has gone up every single month. So by the time I'm 100, it's going to be through the roof. And it's just like, are you, it's like,
Oh,
sweetheart. And then you realize they are not there. There's nothing there. It is empty. And that is most people. And the rest of us are trying to talk to these people, and it's a brick wall.
I don't know how. I mean, it's very easy to get that to be under that impression. I think if you go on social media, but I think a lot of that stuff is exaggerated. I don't know. Maybe
It's
I believe
not.
if you're basing it on your experience dealing with real people
Yes, real humans,
all around you,
young females. Yes.
young females all around you, people you actually
Yes.
meet
Yes.
are not sort of clueless.
Yes. Yeah. They are, for like, they think I'm like, oh my gosh, she knows everything. How is this possible? And I'm just like, these are just normal things that people always knew. I don't understand. Like, nobody taught them this, or maybe their brains couldn't like absorb the information and they just rejected it because the TV said, no, when you're 100 years old, you'll be Carrie Bradshaw making millions of dollars, and Mr. Big, a millionaire, billionaire, is going to marry you. So, like, you're fine. Don't worry about her. She's an idiot. Don't listen to her. Don't listen to all these other older people and their experiences, because the television, the media says the opposite. So I'm just going to go with television and media because that's what I want to hear. That's what makes me feel good. And I can manifest whatever I want by believing it really, really hard.
Don't get me started on that.
Yeah.
I know someone who really believed in this law of attraction. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, this is what I think. Obviously, if you go into a situation with an energy that's like, I can achieve this, you'll have a better chance than if you have a negative energy that I can't achieve it. Yes. But people are forgetting to add the talent and like the other requirements to achieve things that they want. The
Not to
work.
mention, yeah, but not to mention, if you believe in that blindly, you're implying that when bad things happen to people, it's their fault. So, a 19-year-old who gets
Yeah, yeah.
cancer, it's because she had negative vibes, dude. She just thought negative. She was
Yeah.
just really negative, which I obviously don't agree with. I think that whole line of reasoning is very flawed. I find it to be totally flawed. And I see what you are saying. It's true. The way you carry yourself, if you're positive, if if your mind's in the right place going into something, that's going to carry across. People are going to pick up on that, and you're probably going to be more successful if you've got this positive sort of attitude and you're thinking positively. But you also need to just be competent. It really depends on what we're talking about. You do need to be competent. You need to. It's not. You're not gonna be like a good architect just because your positive vibes keep the building together, you know?
Yeah, you can't like not study it and wing it and go, well, I so believe in myself, so it's going to happen.
But a lot of movies brainwashed us, or maybe not me, but a lot of people, maybe more and
Yeah, the
more.
younger people
A lot of
are
those movies are
falling.
all that propaganda, like you could do anything you set your mind to. I think
Yes.
they don't realize that by setting your mind to it, they mean like doing the whole thing. Like
Do the work.
exactly, you can't just
Do the work.
it's not like making a wish. It's not making a wish.
Yeah. But people just like, I think that's where you're not understanding how many people will literally just hear something like that once, take it in, believe it, not question it, not look for examples of that working in real life. Just look at, oh, a celebrity, at the end of all their things said, oh, I just believed in myself. So that's all I have to do. They forget the other parts that people never mentioned, the hard work, everything. And then if somebody even tells them, oh, it took hard work and this and that and many years and rejection and overcoming rejection and not giving up and blah, 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 blah. They'll completely disregard that story and just focus on one where the person just said, I don't know. One day I woke up and decided and then it happened. So people are just picking and choosing their delusions and living in these worlds. And then you go to the algorithm and it only shows you stuff that confirms all your brain damage.
Yeah.
And then that's it. You're stuck. You're stuck. So
But you can't glorify the past too much. You can't think that the past is full of like really smart, wise people. It's just that technology has amplified the tendencies that have always been there in humanity and among most people. I don't think there's been a big change, like a big fundamental change in human nature. We're still the same. It's just it's all amplified and it's all out there. We see all of it because of technology. And
yeah.
it's easier for people to survive even though they're not doing the right thing. They're not doing what they should be doing. They're allowed. It's just a bunch of spoiled. A lot of people are just spoiled and they can get away with terrible, really unwise behavior, whereas in the past there was not much of a choice. Like you had to figure it out or you were on the street or you were dead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
But I
what are you
mean,
saying? Are you saying that people are getting dumber? People are getting
yes,
I think you're glorifying the past. I think
I'm not
you
glorifying. Okay, because
you
this is
have
this.
to remember we weren't there though. We weren't there. We're basing our concept of the past on
Okay.
what has been handed down to us, what is what we see of the past in films and books, and we weren't there though.
Okay. There's
We don't know how
definitely,
much stupidity
huh?
was in the past. We don't know how much stupidity there was in the past
I
and
would
ignorance.
imagine that there was extreme stupidity, but that there was also like a baseline of intelligence that everybody had just because they were more social because there was less technology. So you had to interact more with other people and you had to learn how to interact with other people just to survive. Like if you didn't, you would be like exiled because no one wants a weird, creepy person around. So if you got to be in society, you would know how to carry yourself. Where we have people who
We
live
have
in their,
cancel culture. Sorry, but hello,
yeah, sorry, you broke up. Go on.
Kat.
Yes, hello. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hey,
Yeah.
I said, don't forget we've got cancel culture today.
Yes, we do have cancel culture, but more importantly, people have the ability to just stay in their algorithm, hear what they want to hear, not leave the house, have everything delivered to them, not interact with people, do school online, do work completely online, have no idea what's going on in the world, get an AI girlfriend, subscribe to an OnlyFans for that. And
What do guys get out of that?
instant gratification.
What in what form though? Like they're
Because
giving this girl money.
I know, but they don't have the social ability. The younger kids, they don't have the social ability to go out there and talk to girls, because one rejection is enough for them to go, why would I even bother doing this? I can just immediately go log on and get the dopamine, whatever that I need.
Oh,
There's
how are
no
they getting?
reason.
But how are they getting that dopamine from
Because the
only?
girls interact with them online and make them feel special, remember their name, blah 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 blah. So they're basically like having like a long distance type of relationship in their mind, and it's enough to get that. And then when they need to go like the hunt, whatever, like go achieve something, they do that in the video games. So you can be a guy and get everything you need from your computer and never have to leave the house, never have real human interactions. And then when you're faced in front of a human, have absolutely no idea what to do. Or that any negative experience, since you've never had that, you pay for all the good experiences, or you're getting all like these peak experiences from the computer and everything. Any little negative experience in real life is going to make you hate people in the real world even more, and make you more bitter, and make you more anti all those people, and then can radicalize people really quickly. And it can make people, like, for example, never before in history have young men have become like this many young men been virgins for this long. This is the first time in history that it's happened without them going to violence. There's no like
What is this
teens
based?
of, huh?
What is this based on? What are these statistics? Where are these statistics coming from?
I mean, I don't have it written down, but you can just go look it up after.
How would you even calculate that though? I mean, maybe there was someone handed out a questionnaire and they said, well, this is
Because in history, the last times where there was such a wealth inequality where most men couldn't afford to get married, so they were virgins. If there was so much of them, they would just like attack women on the streets all the time. I mean, that happens in places in the world where you have that divide and that wealth inequality where they just don't have access to women. But it's not happening here when we have a huge amount of virgins that have no access to women, because they have the online to get all of that, all of their needs met digitally.
Don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? That's the
I,
only reason
I,
for why it hasn't happened.
I think it's a theory, but
It
I
is
don't.
the theory, but why else would you think we don't have women, I mean, men in hordes raping the women on the street? Why do you think that hasn't happened?
Because of their fear
No, they
of the
don't have fear.
deterrence.
If there's so much of them, they don't have fear.
Of course they have fear. They don't want to get arrested. They don't want to go to jail.
Why? Okay, you could have gotten arrested or hung or shot and killed all
Or
throughout history. Yes,
hang,
but
hanged.
it yes, whatever. But it's not happening now. They're not doing it now. Instead, they're going to the OnlyFans and they're having, social stuff on video games and stuff like that. And they are making real friendships and stuff solely online.
Yeah, I don't know. That's all very foreign to me. I can't relate.
Yeah, because we're a different generation. We had to talk to each other. Our internet was so slow and pathetic when we were young that we were forced. If you wanted to do anything, you'd be forced to go to a party, be forced to. Most kids never have been to a party. They've never gone to a party since like preschool, elementary school birthday parties. And I think it's like only the top 4 to 2% of guys on these dating apps even get a swipe from a girl. 2 to 4%. But guys will swipe on average every single girl.
On average, every
Yes.
single girl.
Yes, they'll just swipe everybody and then see who like bites, and then they'll bother to look at the profile because they get such little connections.
Well,
Anyways, so
is this going to be enough for you to go through and edit?
I'm not editing anymore. This is live.
Okay. And
Yeah.
where is this going?
You'll see after. What are you doing? Just relax.
Who's watching this anyway?
It doesn't matter.
Sorry, I'm totally oblivious.
Don't worry about it. Just relax. Don't
Should I
think
start an
about it.
OnlyFans?
Yes, this is on my OnlyFans right now, live on OnlyFans. Take off your shirt.
Well, I should start an OnlyFans, maybe. I don't know.
Do it. Why not?
Pick up some loose change here and there.
Yeah. So, let's see.
You wanted to talk about the riots.
Yeah, what's going on in Paris and all over France
I
compared
think
to what we hear.
the media in the U.S. Tends to.
They don't post anything. They're just like, oh, they're just so pissed that they raised the retirement age. That's all this is about. And then they stop talking about it.
Entirely different. That was an entirely different thing. There were protests about that for a while, and then I guess that died down a bit. And now there was a case of police, homicide. The police officer killed a kid, or I think he was a teenager, a young guy, anyway, driving. And that's why they started basically burning down this suburb of Paris, just outside of Paris, northwest of Paris, Nanterre. But it was, for the most part, pretty concentrated in that general area, and I think they handled it really well. Like, there were the public transportation was all like stopped. There wasn't anything going through there. I think they did a pretty good job of keeping it under control. So that really the only way I knew something was going on was because I saw it on TV, but I didn't actually see it, in front of me or anywhere around me. It didn't make it as far as where I live. It didn't, like the north of Paris already. You didn't really see anything. You just found out about it through social media or the news or whatever. But it's gone. Now it only lasted a few days, I think. As far as I know, just a few days.
And were there any, like, I heard there's tension between the Muslim people that moved into France and the local French people.
I mean, you make it sound like this is a new thing.
I don't know.
This presence, it's been here. There have been a lot of Muslims in Paris since, well, especially since the war in Algeria in the early 60s. And there are a lot of Algerians or people who, their descendants, maybe people who were born in Paris but whose parents are Algerian. There are a lot of Muslims in Paris, in the suburbs particularly. And it's been that way for at least 50 years, 60, 70 years. So it's nothing new. They were colonies for a while, for a long time. Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, I think, and others. Half of Africa was part of France. Up until like World War II, even after World War II in some cases. Algeria was part of France, I think, until 1962, 1963.
I don't know, because that's what they're saying on the internet, and who knows what's true or not anymore. Which is another reason why, when you were talking,
what are they saying exactly, though? Sorry, what are they saying exactly?
It's just like everything. It's like, oh, it's the super liberal people combined with the Islamic people fighting against the local French people.
No, I think they overcomplicate it. Really, it's like like in many other places. It's a question of socioeconomic levels, and yeah, racism is part of it, but you have bad neighborhoods, you have good neighborhoods, you have profiling, and you
Hmm.
have police brutality. You have police officers doing things they shouldn't do, and poor people get upset and they start lighting shit on fire, just like in the States.
Yeah.
The only difference is that it's a different minority, it's a different ethnicity. That's all, but it's the same sort of dynamic. It's people who live out in the suburbs because they can't afford to live in the city. They live in shitty high rises,
Hmm.
uh, and a lot of them are. There are a lot of drug dealers who have guns, and it's just like in the States, except they have fewer guns, and they're from a different ethnic background, but it's the same sort of thing behind it. It's money. It's poor parts of town, wealthy parts of town, the police trying to keep those people in their place, trying to keep them out of the nice neighborhoods, trying to keep things under control, the way they see it.
Hmm.
It's classism, it's racism, it's the same sort of problems that we have in the States, although to a lesser degree, because there are fewer guns here.
But there's still guns.
Yeah, I guess they still have guns because you still have the drug trade here. I imagine a lot of drug dealers here have guns, but I don't think it compares to the States. You know, one time I was in a bar in Pigalle, and this guy was a sort of Hell's Angels kind of character, with this big old leather jacket. I happened to have a black leather jacket. I was wearing a black leather jacket that day, and he was like trying to, he was acting sort of funny, kind of like almost like probing to find out if I was one of them, if I was with them. And he's like, "Here, touch back here." And I'm like, "Dude, I just met you. What do you want? Like, leave me alone." And I was like, "All right, fine. If you'll go away, I'll touch the back of your jacket." And he had a big old gap hanging out the back of his pants. He had like a big old gun, you know. And it's like that's the neighborhood watch, neighborhood watch.
So did he feel like you might be a problem and he was trying to give you a warning?
No, 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 no. He was just showing off. He was like, "Yeah, man, you're not Hell's Angels, right?" No, no, I'm not Hell's Angels. I just bought this jacket used. It's a nice jacket. Thank you. Okay, cool. You like it? I don't have a gun. I'm not with you guys. I don't want to be. I'm not in an opposing gang. I don't know what's going on here. Obviously, there's something going on, and you guys are like the official neighborhood watch. It's all, there's just like an unofficial police here
Mm.
who intervene very quickly, and they're very subtle. They're very hush hush. They get you, but you sense it sometimes. You sense that something is keeping it under control without the police always having to come over.
Do you think that we need that here?
Who's to say you don't have it there in certain parts of the country? I wouldn't be surprised in some parts of the country. You've got organized crime still in the U.S., I think.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Not like in the old days, maybe. It's a bit more, it's a bit neater, right? It's a bit cleaner now, right? Flies under the radar more now than before. But I don't know anything about that stuff. So
Mm,
also, I think we're all over the place for your viewers, your listeners.
that's fine.
Who's going to be listening to this anyway?
Whoever finds it. Don't worry about it.
I mean, how many people have found it in the past? How many people?
I don't look, I don't know. We have to post it to see what happens.
Okay.
That's how these things work. You just post and see when people start watching. If you just keep posting, eventually people will go like, okay, they're serious. And then it'll be shown to people. That's how everything works.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Well, do you think this is a good point for us to stop? Or
Yep.
was there another question you had, another topic you wanted to broach?
Mm, let's see. Yeah, let's do another one though. I'll come up with some more topics and stuff.
Okay. I think you did a good job of that today. had a sort of direction.
Kinda. So, when are you available?
These days, more often than usual, because everyone's on summer vacation. So maybe
Okay,
how's next Sunday?
that's fine.
Cool.
Cool.
Yeah, I hope I didn't say anything I shouldn't have.
Okay, well, let me end it and then we'll coordinate. Bye.
Bye.